How to annoy a German. Now, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but if you do, this is the video for you. I'll be explaining some of the tried and tested techniques used by entitled tourists and internet trolls, which should help you raise the blood pressure of any German that you happen to meet. Starting with the easiest and most obvious one, making jokes comparing modern-day Germans to Nazis can be surprisingly effective. For some reason, Germans feel that the whole Third Reich thing was a shameful episode in their history, and they really want to move away from that image. Now, you can, of course, do this very subtly with things like, "Oh, you're flying to Warsaw next week. Do I need to warn the UN?" But most people will opt for the good old Nazi salute in front of important tourist attractions. When the police arrive and want to talk to you about this, that's the perfect opportunity for you to mention the Gestapo. But do please make sure that you can actually afford the fine. If you're white, you can play a variant on this by accusing modern-day Germans of not being Nazi enough. Complaining that Germany has gone soft and the country is full of immigrants and Muslims is a great way to make yourself extremely unpopular. White people from North America can also claim to be German. Now, you will need to do some groundwork for this. Study your family tree until you find an ancestor who was born in what is now Germany, or which was at some point in history a part of the Holy Roman Empire. You can now cite this ancestor as proof that you are ethnically German. It's important to really overdo this one. Don't just casually mention that one of your great-great-grandfathers was born in Silesia. That's just interesting. No, instead, loudly boast that you yourself are 1/16th German. And for the best effect, make sure that you don't speak any German or know anything at all about German history, culture, traditions, or geography. Alternatively, you can get a commercial DNA test. Now, of course, those things are complete garbage, but it does mean that you'll be able to insist that you are, for example, 27% German, and then watch your German friend try to explain that that's not how DNA works. Whatever the German says, just keep repeating that figure until he gives up in frustration. This next one is for everybody. Complain about how much Germany sucks. Now, there are three subjects that this will not work with: the trains, the politicians, and the bureaucracy. But everything else is worth considering. And there's a lot of things that you can complain about, whether it's the lack of air conditioning in your Airbnb, the way that traffic lights work, or the shops being closed on Sundays. And remember not to mention these as slight inconveniences. Really make a drama out of it. This brings out an interesting phenomenon. Germans will sometimes complain about the same things themselves, but when a foreigner complains, Germans are very quick to explain why the German way is better. The game is to really overstate this one and make it seem as if you think that this is the worst thing that has ever happened to you in your entire life. Angrily complaining that you've been to 10 other countries and Germany is the only one with this problem is particularly effective. You win points whenever a German snaps and tells you that you are an entitled Karen who is intolerant of other cultures and needs to learn to be more broad-minded. Try really doubling down at this point and claiming that your culture is objectively better. As I said, this doesn't work with some subjects for which you need to take the opposite approach. So I would recommend talking about German trains. Say anything even slightly positive about them, and your German friends will fall over themselves to tell you just how wrong you are. Finally, don't be afraid to lean into all the usual stereotypes. Wear lederhosen or a dirndl. Fill your Instagram feed with pictures of yourself drinking beer and eating sausages. And especially if you're in public, try that thigh-slapping dance. Basically, imagine that the entire country is a theme park built for your personal entertainment. Try as hard as you can to make your German friends squirm in embarrassment. And that's it, just a few of the ways in which you can really irritate Germans. And when you think about it, you'll actually be doing them a favor in the long run. When you finally leave the country, just think how happy all those Germans are going to be. What was at some point in history a part of the Roman Empire. Who knows? There's a difference between the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire. You can now cite this ancestor